this planet, you will die. We have seen it.
And welcome to Dune Spice Wars You Will Die tutorial series. Dune Spice Wars is a challenging but excellent 4x real-time strategy game that's currently in early access. Developed by Shiro Games that brought you the critically acclaimed Northgard, Dune Spice Wars can be found in Steam for a great price and the reviews are very positive, definitely worth checking out. When you start off on Arrakis, you may find it to be true to the story as it's brutal and a bit overwhelming. Arrakis will humble even the most competent strategy players, so don't feel discouraged. This tutorial series is aimed at providing detailed insights so you die a little less on Arrakis and ease the baptism of fire and worms. In this tutorial, we're going to explore the most important unit in the game, the Ornithopter. We'll go through the basics and move on to the more advanced mechanics. We'll look at some side-by-side comparisons to better illustrate the Ornithopter description, tech upgrade, weather effects, and special advisor abilities that apply to the Ornithopter. Even experienced players may learn something useful in this beginner's guide, so stick around. Regardless of which house selected, you'll start with an Ornithopter and an undiscovered map. You zoom out using your mouse wheel or press M to see the entire map. You won't be able to see any detail. Using the mouse wheel, you can zoom in a little bit and see a heavy dust sand effect. Some details of terrain will pierce through, providing some indication of where special regions are. I'll cover special regions another time. To discover a region, you need to left click on your Ornithopter and right click on the undiscovered region. As soon as your Ornithopter has crossed the border, some or all the region details will be revealed. Now, to build an Ornithopter, you need to click on the plus symbol under the Ornithopter heading in your control menu located on the right hand side of your screen. Hover your mouse over the plus symbol, the description cost and upkeep will display. Ornithopter costs an upfront 300 Solari, 2 fuel cells, and an upkeep cost of 2 Solari. You can check the upkeep by hovering over the fuel cell symbol, noting that the Ornithopter is -2 from 10, giving 8 available fuel cells. Same for Solari, you can see the upkeep cost there of -2 Solari. Ornithopter does a great deal more than what is currently in the description. It's a bit confusing when trying to understand how to use this unit when starting out, so we're going to explore this in a bit more detail. Building on the description, the primary function of the Ornithopter is to scan question marks, revealing them to be villages or points of interest in order for us to interact with them. A village will always be on rocky type terrain. In order to reveal it, select the Ornithopter and click on the question mark, and the Ornithopter will start scanning, indicated by a progress circle and a percentage. Once complete, a village will appear and you can capture it with some ground troops. Points of interest will appear nearly anywhere on the map and can be revealed by selecting the Ornithopter and right-clicking on the question mark. Note that spice fields are also considered to be points of interest and will be displayed as question marks as well. This excludes your starting spice field, which will always be automatically revealed. There are many different types of points of interest, and for now, just think of them as good things to scan and use. I will cover points of interest in another video. Take a closer look at the description. When you select an Ornithopter, you'll notice a big button that says Auto Recon. Ignore that for now. We're going to have a look at can be attached to Harvester to give a 20% gathering rate. We'll take a look at an example so you can see what this means. Here is a Harvester mining spice. Take note of the spice income value. Select the Ornithopter and right click on the Harvester and you'll see that the magnifying symbol appears above the Harvester, which indicates that the Harvester is attached and the plus 20% is applied. Note the spice income value has increased and will decrease once I move the Ornithopter off the Harvester. Let's add a crew member, which gives a spice income value of 25. We add 20% from attaching the Ornithopter, which will give us 30. Adding the crew member increases your spice rate, so the 20% increase is calculated based on the addition of crew members. Let's take a look at detect sandworms earlier and stealth units from further away. Sandworms are attracted to movement and will eat up ground units on the desert floor at random. Sandworms are devastating and will wreak havoc on any plans you have on advances and defenses. You can see this in this example. Attaching an Ornithopter to a Harvester or a ground unit to detect sandworms with stealth units in most situations is an effective way to give you more time to react and avoid some of their losses. Let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison with or without the Ornithopter attached to illustrate the early detection. This is a side-by-side comparison of the worm attack on a Harvester that has auto return enabled. With this button enabled, the Harvester will return to base automatically. Note that the game time is nearly identical. You can see the Harvester with the Ornithopter attached almost immediately detects the sandworm, whereas the Harvester without the Ornithopter takes some time to detect the sandworm, which increases the likelihood that the Harvester will be eaten and the precious spice lost. Note that it will take 1 minute and 30 seconds to rebuild a Harvester. Keep in mind that your Harvester can still be eaten by worms even with an Ornithopter attached. By no means assume you're ever safe on Arrakis. Now let's take a look at early detection of sandworm when an Ornithopter is attached to ground units. It's difficult to prove the benefits of Ornithopter's ability due to the randomness of worm attacks. Feels like worm attacks operate at 3 different animation speeds, a quick, moderate or slow attack. but much more detailed testing is required to see if there's any truth to this madness. However, in-game experience does feel far better to have an ornithopter attached for early detection. Let's take a look at the example that was replicatable. I tried to keep the pathing and distance as similar as possible. In this scenario, the worm attack is a quick attack and it appears that there is no benefit to having an ornithopter attached. Ornithopter will generate far better detection as a moderate or slow worm attack, but it's difficult to replicate consistently. Keep this in mind, more testing will be conducted to confirm, but for now assume it's very beneficial for detecting sandworms. Let's take a quick look at the detection radius. The drones are placed on the edge of detection range and it appears that the ornithopter has slightly more detection at the front than the back, something to keep in mind. The same detection radius applies to nearly all stealth units. Also consider that there are no alerts or warnings triggered when detecting stealth units, so keep an eye out. Here's another example of detection, and it really highlights how beneficial stealth detection is on the battlefield. Without the ornithopter, the stealth units will not be detected until it's in striking distance. This could be the make or break factor in a battle, so something to keep in mind. Finally, let's take a look at the auto recon button. Enabling the auto recon allows the ornithopter to autonomously seek out question marks anywhere on the map. You can disable this function at any time by clicking on the recon button again. Once enabled, you can see the effect is the units attempt to find the closest question mark to scan. Keep in mind that using this feature is not as efficient as micro and individual ornithopters. Let me show you an example of the trade-offs for using auto recon. The units are scouting to find a question mark and in most cases will find it using the fairly direct path, but in some instances the ornithopter will fly past the question mark as it seeks to reveal part of the map in search of potential question marks before it finally locks on and commences scanning. You can see in this example that the unit passes a question mark, then scouts down to reveal more of the map, and since no other question marks are revealed, finally locks on. However, one of the point of interest is completely revealed in that time. The pathing for auto recon is way less efficient than microrene. That is the trade-off of peace of mind. Thought it might be interesting to take a look at how much time it takes to complete scanning question marks on the map. Basically the way it works is the further you get away from your base, the more time it will take for the ornithopter to reveal a point of interest or village. It's not a perfect example, but it gives you an idea of how long roughly the duration looks like on a large map. All question marks in the outer ring will take 3 minutes, regardless of what it is. As you get closer to the middle, it goes down to 1:30. Keep in mind that the middle region in all map sizes will take 1:30 to discover. As you get closer to the base, the time it takes reduces all the way down to 15 seconds for the regions in close proximity. Something just to keep in mind, you can appreciate that it will take a long time to scan all the points of interest on a large map. There are 3 types of ornithopters. First, we're going to look at the scavenged ornithopter. Scavenged ornithopters are beaten up and slow moving. The real benefit is that they are free, but only in operation for 20 game days, which is 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, they are removed. However, they have the same scanning duration, stealth detection, and plus 20% harvester rate as normal ornithopters do. So basically, other than the reduction in speed, they operate exactly the same as normal ornithopters. To obtain a scavenged ornithopter, you first have to reveal a point of interest called Crash Ornithopter. Looks like an ornithopter that's crashed. Pretty self-explanatory. They're scattered around the map randomly. Secondly, you'll need some ground units to investigate and patch up the ornithopter. You do this by selecting a ground unit and right-clicking on the crash site, and it will take up to 30 seconds or 1 day in-game time to recover. It requires only 1 ground unit to recover, and adding more units doesn't increase investigation speed. Upon completion, a wild scavenged ornithopter will appear for use, and again, will only last 20 game days, which is 10 minutes. That's the scavenged ornithopter. We'll take a very quick look at a normal ornithopter, just noting that it has a different look to the scavenged ornithopter. It just looks normal and has a normal speed, and everything else that we've discussed in this video till now applies to it. So we don't really need to go into much more detail with the normal ornithopter. We'll move on to the next one. This is the experimental ornithopter. It's extremely fast and will last the duration of the game, excluding getting nuked. It has the same scanning, stealth detection, and plus 20% harvester rate. There is a unique way to obtain, generally awarded to 1 player per game by completing the X-Scientist mission that is triggered randomly. Missions can be considered like a side quest with good and bad results depending if you complete them or not. To obtain the experimental ornithopter, keep an eye out for the science symbol on the left-hand side of the screen. Hovering your mouse over the science symbol will reveal the mission X-Scientist. Let's focus on the left-hand side of the mission, work on prototype. To complete this mission, we need to resolve 2 crashed ornithopters points of interest and have only 4 ornithopters in operation. You can resolve a crashed ornithopter point of interest and select either of the 2 options, but in this example, I selected patch up ornithopter. I've resolved the crash ornithopter, and the X-Scientist mission now indicates I only need to remove an ornithopter and resolve one more crash site. You can remove a scavenged ornithopter by right-clicking on the unit in the control menu, and a pop-up will ask if you want to remove the unit. You select confirm. You can see that resolving the crashed ornithopter and removing the scavenged ornithopter still counts towards completing the mission. I'll repeat the steps, and then the conditions are met and we can now claim the experimental ornithopter. Click confirm, and then you'll notice that on the right hand side the experimental ornithopter icon displays, and you now have the experimental ornithopter for the whole game. Now we're going to look at a tech upgrade called Paracompass, which is accessible in your tech tree under the green tree. Paracompass is the only tech upgrade that will enhance your ornithopter, giving you a 20% speed increase and revealing all hidden points of interest. Let's take a look at the speed comparison first and compare the 3 different types of ornithopter's speed with and without Paracompass. 2 things to note: that reconnaissance is not impacted by this, and the 20% speed increase only impacts normal ornithopters, not scavenged or experimental ornithopters. You can see in this example that the experimental is very fast compared to the normal ornithopter without Paracompass. Once Paracompass is actually researched, you can see that the speed of the normal ornithopter is almost on par with the experimental ornithopter. And noting that the scavenged ornithopter's speed is unchanged and is by far the slowest, taking a very long time to reach any destination. Paracompass is a worthy tech upgrade in early game. It also highlights how slow this scavenged ornithopter is in both scenarios. Let's look at reveal all hidden points of interest. To clarify, this will reveal 4 points of interest that can only be seen by players with Paracompass upgrade. What this means is that more question marks will appear on your map. The 4 additional points of interest icons are shown below. We won't go into detail about these 4 points of interest, but I'll quickly show you what it looks like on the map once you've completed it. As you can see, I've nearly revealed all points of interest. I'll complete Paracompass in a minute to reveal some more question marks. But let's keep in mind that smugglers have a faction bonus that reveal black market question marks automatically. Black markets are one of the point of interests that are revealed by completing Paracompass. Let's complete Paracompass, and now we can see a bunch of new points of interest that can be investigated. 2 advisors have abilities that enhance ornithopters. When Harkonnen advisor Pyto de Rez is selected, Shadow Engines will give stealth, and when in enemy territories, intel will be generated. What this means is the ornithopter has stealth cloak, which performs the same as other stealth units, and as soon as the ornithopter crosses into enemy territory, you'll see under the magnifying glass that the green number will increase by 2 per ornithopter, so a total of 10 intel can be earned at a time, and as soon as the territory is left, the +2 will be removed, leaving you with 0 intel when not in enemy territories. Smuggler's Advisor Drisk has Infiltration Mastery, which includes a 10% increase to speed and reconnaissance. So not only increasing speed, but points of interest will be revealed quicker than other factions with Drisk. I'm going to take a quick look at how storms affect ornithopters. Ornithopters are only affected by storms when they're scanning a point of interest. When they're scanning a point of interest and covered by a storm, they will stop scanning and no harm will come to the ornithopter. Ornithopter will recommence scanning once the storm passes, and it will be at the exact same percentage complete that it left off at. Ornithopters will only move slow when they're being microed through a storm. They will not lose health, so just keep that in mind, that you can fly through them without any worries if you're microing them. If you've made it this far, I just want to say a big thanks for watching my first YouTube video. I understand it's a bit rough, so thanks very much, I appreciate it. And if you have any comments or anything you'd like a video on regarding Dune Spice Wars, let me know, and thanks again.